Hello everyone, today we're diving into a strange and haunting case that took place in a most unexpected place, the state of Connecticut, USA. In 1988, Connecticut, a wealthy part of New England, home to prestigious families, billionaires, and the elite, a place that seems calm and orderly, and yet, right there, a young woman vanished without a trace. What followed was a bizarre series of events, scattered puzzle pieces slowly coming together, leading to a shocking truth. On April 18, 1988, Carla Almeida, a massage therapist, received an appointment from her company. She was asked to visit a client's home for a 1-hour therapy session, according to company policy. Every therapist was required to call in when they arrived and again when they left the client's home, for safety and transparency. Carla took her job seriously. Although she had only been working for 6 weeks, she never skipped any part of the procedure. At exactly 2:30 p.m. that day, she arrived on time and called the company as usual. An hour later, by 3:30 p.m., her session should have ended, but this time, Carla never called back. At first, people might have assumed she forgot, or maybe there was a phone issue. But when the company tried to call her back, no one answered. They then tried contacting Carla's family, still no response. In just 1 hour, a young, healthy woman, a mother with a baby waiting for her at home, had disappeared without explanation. Sensing something was wrong, the company called the police. Police responded immediately. 2 officers, Henry and James, were dispatched to the address provided by the massage company. That's where Carla had gone for her last appointment, with a man named Tevfik Sivri, who lived at 37 Ridge Court. Sivri was a house painter, a Turkish immigrant living in a northern suburb with his family. When the officers arrived, they saw a young girl outside the house. When asked, she said Sivri was her brother, but that he wasn't home. She gave vague answers and quickly walked away. Without a search warrant, Henry and James could only observe the property from outside, looking for anything suspicious. As evening fell, Sivri's mother and older brother returned home. They told the officers they had nothing to do with Carla's disappearance and denied any involvement. The police asked to search the house, but Sivri's mother refused, with no other option. The 2 officers kept watch from a distance, waiting for Sivri to return. Around 7:30 p.m., a red car pulled into the driveway. The man who stepped out was Tevfik Sivri. The officers approached and asked, "Did you see Carla this afternoon?" Sivri replied that she had indeed come to his house for a massage but left at 3:30. He said he didn't know where she went afterward. Police followed up. "She's missing. You may be the last person who saw her. We need you to come to the station and assist in the investigation." At the station, Sivri stuck to his story. He claimed to have paid Carla $88 and said she left like usual. When police asked to search his car and home, he became agitated, loudly refused, and walked out since they had no warrant to hold him. At that point, no one knew for sure whether Carla had been murdered or had simply gone missing. Police had no physical evidence, no body, no crime scene, so they couldn't request a warrant or arrest Sivri. The investigation into him stalled. Attention turned to Carla herself. Carla Almeida was a 21-year-old single mother. Her son was almost 1 year old. Her parents said she was hardworking and responsible, and she had been planning his birthday party every day when she worked. She left her son with her Aunt Michelle and always picked him up at 5:30 sharp. She was never late. Everyone agreed if Carla disappeared without notice, something bad must have happened. Neighbors, co-workers, even her boss all said the same thing. Carla was kind, responsible, and serious about her job. A sense of dread began to cloud the entire investigation. 2 days later, on April 20th, Carla's car was found under a bridge in a remote area. It was a small red pickup, similar to her boyfriend's. No blood, no signs of struggle, nothing out of place. It almost looked too clean. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Police received a tip. A red car had been abandoned near a scrapyard. They checked it out and confirmed it belonged to Sivri. Had they arrived a few days later, it would have been crushed into metal. The vehicle had been cleaned thoroughly, but in the trunk, officers found a strange hole about the size of a bullet, maybe slightly larger. This gave them the legal grounds to request a search warrant. On April 21st, police officially searched Sivry's home. The house was unusually clean, but in the basement, using a magnifying glass, they spotted a few tiny dots near the TV. Tests confirmed it was blood, however. The blood patterns were inconsistent. Some sprayed upward, others downward. It made no sense. No clear explanation. Investigators couldn't piece together what had happened. At this point, the lead investigator, Pampa, decided to call in the best forensic expert he knew, Dr. Henry Chang-Yu Lee. Dr. Lee arrived at the scene immediately. He quietly examined the basement and spotted 2 more near-invisible drops of blood on a photo frame and 30 on the TV. All showed signs of high-velocity spatter, likely from a gunshot. Still, it wasn't enough. Then he remembered something. Sivry's mother had said to him earlier, "If you dare cut my carpet, I'll sue you for everything you've got." That stuck with him when they lifted the carpet. What they saw left everyone stunned. Underneath was a large, dry blood stain. Investigators estimated a significant loss of blood, potentially life-threatening. With that much blood loss, the chance of survival was nearly zero. However, due to the use of cleaning agents, the blood could not be identified. When police returned to question Sivry, he had already left the country back to Turkey. No one could get in touch with him. Police were certain he was the killer, but without a body, without witnesses, there was no way to press charges. Dr. Lee turned his attention back to the car Sivry had tried to dispose of. He suspected the vehicle had been used to transport the body. The trunk had been thoroughly cleaned, but no one could explain the hole in the back. Investigators theorized that the vehicle had been used to transport the body, and that the hole in the trunk might have been intentional, possibly to allow fluids to drain. It was still just a theory, until a few tiny drops of blood were found that hadn't been completely washed away. However, Carla's body still hadn't been found, and there was nothing available to compare the DNA with. Dr. Lee decided to use a new technique, taking DNA samples from Carla's parents. The result, the blood found in the car trunk, was confirmed to be Carla's. Police issued a warrant for Sivry's arrest, but he had already disappeared. The search for him would last more than a year. In June 1989, they received a tip. Sivry was working at a restaurant in New York. Police and the FBI immediately coordinated a joint operation. On June 26th, Sivry was arrested. After his arrest, Sivry refused to cooperate and remained silent in response to all police questions. Despite this, investigators moved forward and charged him with murder. However, the outcome in court remained uncertain, because up to that point, there had never been a conviction in that jurisdiction without the victim's body being found. Carla's remains were still missing, and the most crucial piece of evidence was the DNA match. But in 1992, DNA technology was not yet widely accepted in U.S. courts. Fortunately, the new Canaan court ultimately agreed to admit the DNA evidence. On May 21, 1992, Sivry's trial began. The arguments between the prosecution and defense lasted 7 hours. In the end, faced with a wide range of evidence, the judge and jury unanimously found Sivry guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to life in prison. Under Connecticut law, that meant he would serve 60 years behind bars. However, Sivry refused to accept spending the rest of his life in prison. He authorized his attorney to request a retrial, arguing that the judge and jury had made the wrong decision. According to Sivry's lawyer, this wasn't a case of premeditated murder. It was an accident. He claimed that Carla had died as the result of an unintended incident. The lawyer argued that if Sivry had truly intended to kill someone, he wouldn't have invited Carla to his own home. Committing murder in one's own house is far too risky and likely to leave evidence behind. Therefore, he claimed, Carla must have died accidentally during the massage session. Even if Sivry were guilty of something, the most serious charge, the defense insisted, should be concealment or obstruction, not premeditated murder. The court found the lawyer's argument to be reasonable and agreed to grant a retrial. The news deeply unsettled Carla's family and the investigators. But they also understood this wasn't the fault of the judge or the defense attorney. It was simply the way the legal system worked. In July 1992, police received a call from a local resident reporting the discovery of human bones and a strange object in a nearby pine forest. The remains were found on a farm covered in dense pine trees, beneath the base of a large pine. Investigators immediately brought in forensic anthropology experts to examine the scene. After analyzing the bone fragments, experts concluded that the victim was a petite woman. Fortunately, aside from the front teeth, most of the skull remained intact using dental x-rays provided by Carla's dentist. The team compared the records and confirmed a perfect match that was enough to conclusively identify the remains as Carla's. The forensic experts also examined the skull to determine the cause of Carla's death. They found 2 fractures consistent with gunshot trauma, one at the front and one at the back of the skull, indicating that she had died from a gunshot wound. Everything matched the original crime scene. The retrial concluded quickly, and Sivry's original sentence was upheld. As for the motive, there was no official documentation on record, but based on speculation, investigators believe that Sivry may have made unwanted advances toward Carla during the massage. When she rejected him, he became enraged, threatened her, and killed her when she tried to resist. Afterward, he cleaned up the crime scene, attempted to dispose of the body, and fled. If it hadn't been for Dr. Lee's sharp instincts and the relentless efforts of the investigative team, the case might never have been solved. This is more than just the story of a crime. It's a testament to the power of science, the pursuit of justice, and the unwavering belief that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, will always come to light. Though Sivry was ultimately convicted, the pain of Carla's loss still lingers for her family. And for us, the ones who have followed her story, her name is something we'll likely never forget. Today's video ends here. Thank you all for watching until the very end. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.